Chapter 2273, Boss Round 2. On Brad's game console, the NPC's shield value and health bar plummeted rapidly. The next instant, intense flames erupted at the spot. The mosaic shield in the shield-wielding warrior's hands shattered completely. His entire body was pierced by the fire spear, then the residual force hurled him violently backward. The earth cracked open, flames engulfing everything. The warrior's health bar depleted, his body transforming into a white ragdoll. Phone booping gasped for breath. This move was meant to buy time for Uncle Yu, hoping he could break free from his stun. He finally understood why Uncle Yu had ended up in this state. If the enemy's ability was a game, then Uncle Yu was the game's boss. Beyond the health bar and shield mechanics, there was naturally a stun resistance mechanic. After a boss took enough hits, it entered this state, unable to fight back, only to be attacked by the player. Unfortunately, Phone Booping's ability could only take out one shielded warrior. He couldn't stop the concentrated attacks from the remaining dozens of white warriors on Uncle Yu. Phone Booping's eyes nearly popped out of his head in panic. Mr. Lu Wu. Before his words faded, every attack struck Uncle Yu simultaneously. On Brad's game console, the 2D avatar resembling Uncle Yu displayed numerous weak points. The shield value finally depleted under relentless strikes. Those crimson vulnerabilities were repeatedly targeted by his controlled soldiers, dealing double damage. Snap! 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 Blade after blade pierced through the armor's gaps, sinking deep into Uncle Yu's torso. Lances thrust inward, their tips vanishing entirely within his flesh. Over a dozen weapons impaled him, turning Uncle Yu into a veritable hedgehog. Phone Booping's heart sank at the sight. Such an assault would kill even a celestial being on the spot. He never imagined this would be the outcome. Brad laughed heartily with satisfaction, watching Uncle Yu's health bar steadily deplete. Soon, the bar emptied completely, hitting 0. 0 meant, game over. He had successfully defeated the boss and won the game. Game over. Brad lifted his head triumphantly, gazing ahead. Uncle Yu's body lay rigid in place, pierced by countless weapons, seemingly devoid of all life. Phone Booping was horrified, his mind in turmoil, unsure what to do next. Just as Brad was celebrating, the game console's alert tone suddenly rang out. Instead of the game over notification, the game's background music changed. The boss figure, whose health bar had been completely depleted on screen, suddenly stood up again, its health bar now fully replenished. What? Brad's pupils contracted to the size of soybeans, utterly bewildered by what was happening. Clearly, the game system had declared him dead. Ha! A contemptuous laugh echoed. Brad looked up in terror to see the human figure, pierced by countless blades, slowly raising its head. It stared at him with a cold, mocking smile. My apologies, but I haven't been human for quite some time. Pierced through? So what? Uncle Yu's bones, blood vessels, even his internal organs had been modified. Now, only 30% of his body retained human structure. Primarily his brain, skin, some blood, and the basic configuration of a male organism. Damage to other parts wouldn't prove fatal. The vital point? His skull. But the armor on his head offered no gaps for weapons to penetrate. Moreover, the armor of a high-ranking demon god was no joke. Uncle Yu's stun status lifted, and the gray bar representing stun level reappeared above his head. This time, he activated every weapon emitter on his body. Nearly all the white warriors had surrounded him in their attempt to kill him. Because of this, Uncle Yu could unleash the full power of his weapons without restraint. Barrels pointed in every direction, the energy source furnace operating at 100% capacity. Energy surged through the conduits within his bones and erupted outward in an instant. Boom! Uncle Yu's body instantly became transparent, a visual effect caused by the light waves from the massive energy burst. He seemed to melt, revealing terrifying energy currents surging through his body before erupting outward. Like a nuclear bomb detonating on the spot, the dozens of white warriors surrounding Uncle Yu bore the brunt of this merciless assault. Phone Booping's pupils contracted sharply. He immediately pulled away from Uncle Yu, terrified of being caught in the blast. After flying a considerable distance, he turned back just as scorching shockwaves slammed into his body, forcing him to raise his hand to shield his eyes from the blinding light ahead. A colossal pillar of white energy shot skyward, forming a gigantic mushroom cloud that soared tens of thousands of meters into the air. The sheer terror of its energy far surpassed that of a chariot-level mutant. It had reached the bishop tier, with an ability index exceeding over 30,000. I'm not a particularly gifted mutant. Originally only at the gamma level, it was through Zhang Yi's constant support that I reached this point. Though I lack natural talent, this armor grants me combat power that transcends my limits. The demon god armor possessed one function, overclocking. Zhang Yi had utilized it multiple times during combat, forcing the mech to overload. This pushed energy output beyond its limits, risking physical damage. During his confrontation with the Tsan tribe's demon god, Zhang Yi had witnessed the sheer power of this ability. And Uncle Yu, operating at the Black Chariot energy tier, could unleash attacks equivalent to a bishop tier powerhouse when overclocked. One strike. But it was enough to become the ultimate trump card, completely turning the tide of battle. What Feng Buping didn't know was why Yang Xingxin had arranged for Uncle Yu to accompany him in confronting this most troublesome Brad. It was precisely because Uncle Yu, concealed within his armor, was a superpowered weapon. From the very epicenter of the explosion, Uncle Yu, clad in armor blazing with crimson flames, stepped forward toward Brad. Feng Buping watched this scene, utterly dumbfounded. He couldn't believe this ordinary uncle, who had been practicing combined techniques with him all along, could unleash such astonishing power. Beside Brad, several puppet dolls fell to the ground, turning into motionless white rag dolls. His pupils contracted sharply, and a flicker of genuine tension finally appeared in his heart. Uncle Yu looked at him, still wearing that simple, honest expression. He scratched the back of his head and chuckled, saying, "When fighting a boss, the second battle is the hardest, right? That's what Chun-Lei told me." Chapter 2274, Total Lockdown, No Escape. In this war, no matter what happened to anyone else, the mutants within Zhang Yi's team would remain unscathed. Zhang Yi's preparations for them were impeccably thorough. What had he prepared for Uncle Yu? Armor crafted from top-tier upper-rank demon god materials, second only to his own. A cyberpunk body modified by the genius mechanic Liu Karen. And Feng Buping. Indeed, from the very beginning, Feng Buping's role was to assist Uncle Yu. In truth, even if Uncle Yu went on missions alone, his success rate remained above 90%. Uncle Yu lowered his right hand, his gaze sharpening as he fixed it on Brad. Now, let's begin the second round of this game. To take down the boss, one must first clear the preliminary minions blocking the path. Therefore, these grunts must be dealt with first before the showdown with Brad. Uncle Yu spread his arms wide. His energy furnace blazed fiercely, waves of power radiating from the source at his chest throughout his entire body, extending to his limbs. A crimson energy aura enveloped him completely. A powerful energy fluctuation warped the light itself. Beside Brad, only 7 white warriors remained, wielding mosaic weapons to protect him. Brad swallowed hard and roared, "Attack! Kill him!" The 7 white warriors showed no fear of death, launching a stunning assault directly at Uncle Yu. The shield bearers had been wiped out in the first wave, leaving only the assault warriors and archers. The assault warriors, wielding swords and spears, crouched low and charged toward Uncle Yu like streaks of white lightning. The archers raised their longbows and spear-like weapons, gathering energy. Pop! A storm of energy surged, terrifying power coalescing upon the white warriors' weapons. The sheer radiation of this energy alone weighed heavily upon Feng Buping, who watched from the sky. Gripping his fire-tipped spear, he thought, "I can't be the weak link now." With that resolve, he swung his spear with all his might. Simultaneously, powerful supernatural energy surged from within his body, transforming into blazing crimson lotus flames as it erupted from his acupoints. Ha! Scarlet lotus blossoms surged and bloomed across the sky, spreading in wave after wave. Fong Booping channeled them with a thrust of his spear, concentrating them at its tip until they coalesced into a colossal crimson fire dragon hurtling straight toward the White Warriors' formation. Scarlet Lotus Burning Sky Inferno. The swirling flames engulfed the land, threatening to reduce the entire city to ashes. His powerful strike severely impacted the White Warriors, forcing them to slow their advance and halt to defend against the fiery onslaught. Uncle Yu had already completed loading the energy bullets. His arms aimed at them, radiating an aura as if he were holding two thick, crimson cannon barrels. Fire! Uncle Yu spoke calmly, yet his gaze was cold and terrifying. He seemed transported back to his youth, to the days of slaying enemies on the frontier battlefields. Boom! 2 energy shells erupted from the barrels with deafening roars. The crimson-black beams, imbued with destructive force, pierced through the red lotus flames and surged toward the White Warriors. In an instant, every White Warrior, along with the attacks fired by their archers, was utterly annihilated by those 2 energy shells. Panic flashed in Brad's eyes. Why must I face such a monstrosity? Could this be a supermechanical life form left behind by the Tsan tribe? The Tsan tribe had also participated in the trials following that Gate of Light incident. Though Pokong was ultimately eliminated, he brought back vast intelligence, including details about the Tsan tribe's mechanical civilization. That formidable technology had captivated the people of the Wulwan Empire, who had in fact already embarked on 6 months of intensive research. Even with only a fraction of the data obtained, their technological advancement had surged significantly. Yet humanity's research into the Tsan tribe's technology had progressed even faster than theirs. Without a moment's hesitation, Brad instantly sidestepped the residual shockwave of Uncle Yu's energy cannon. Yet after that single strike, every single one of his guards fell dead. With those NPCs gone, he lost his invincibility status, leaving his true form vulnerable to attack. Brad thought for a moment, then abruptly turned and fled the battlefield. With a few manipulations, his game console transformed into a flying skateboard, carrying him far away toward the northwest. Uncle Yu and Fong Booping immediately understood the situation. Brad's power lay in commanding NPCs in battle, his own combat ability was rather lacking. With his power neutralized, escape was his only option. Mr. Lu Wu, we should pursue. Fong Booping gripped his fire-tipped spear urgently, ready to give chase. He couldn't let such a major achievement slip away by letting the enemy escape. Wait. Uncle Yu quickly stopped him. But if we delay, he'll get away. Fong Booping was clearly overcome with excitement. This was his first time participating in such a large-scale battle, and his eagerness to prove himself showed his inexperience. Uncle Yu looked at him, his mind drifting to comrades fallen in the border wars, and couldn't help but exclaim inwardly. Newbies like this had the highest mortality rate in war. Be wary of ambushes he might have set along the way. This is their home turf after all. And that guy seemed pretty sharp. Supernatural abilities reflect the user's inner nature. Thus, enhancement-type ability users typically possessed straightforward personalities. The more complex the ability, the harder the user's true nature was to fathom. Judging by Brad's ability, this guy must relish tormenting others, reveling in the pleasure of toying with his victims. Having fought alongside Zhang Yi for over 3 years, Uncle Yu had seen every kind of enemy. Influenced by Zhang Yi, his own temperament had grown cautious. But just let him escape? Doesn't that mean our mission fails? Fong Booping understood Uncle Yu was right, yet he still felt resentful. Uncle Yu looked at Fong Booping meaningfully and said, on the battlefield, staying alive is the most important thing. Fong Booping hadn't yet witnessed the true brutality of war. Had Uncle Yu not accompanied him today, he might well have fallen to Brad's hands. Besides, he won't get far. Without haste, Uncle Yu used the communication device to contact Lu Karen aboard the super warship in the sky. Miss Lu, please help me locate Brad. Chapter 2275, Total Lockdown, Part 2. Lu Karen replied promptly, no problem. Soon, precise coordinates pinpointing Brad's location were transmitted from the super warship above, synchronized to Uncle Yu. After confirming the target's trajectory, the mecha on Uncle Yu's back suddenly extended outward, revealing 4 barrel-like cannons resembling smokestacks. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, lock onto target coordinates. An electronic voice emanated from Uncle Yu's body. Phone Booping's heart jolted at these words. Intercontinental ballistic missiles? Hey, Uncle Yu. You're not joking, right? On this day in the year 2054, intercontinental ballistic missiles remained one of humanity's most advanced weapons. Capable of carrying the Reaper of Love warhead, they were the ultimate weapon for superpowers to achieve global dominance. Yet even with the world's most advanced technology, compressing an ICBM to fit through such a small barrel remained impossible. Uncle Yu had now transformed into a humanoid rocket launcher, locking onto Brad as he streaked away in the distance. Target acquired, launch. Whoosh. Behind him, the barrel erupted with a fireworks-like roar. 4 missiles soared skyward in succession, trailing white tails. After a brief pause mid-air, they hurtled toward the horizon. Brad, piloting his flying skateboard, felt a complex mix of emotions. The constant reports of fallen comrades reached his ears, making him gradually realize that the calamity befalling the Wulwan Empire today could very well be of a nation-ending level. The glory of days past might be gone forever, and his homeland would ultimately face destruction. Above, Marshal Jinglu failed to subdue the enemy. The heavenly Iron Curtain had been breached, and the imperial city lay conquered. A crushing sense of hopeless helplessness enveloped Brad. Wherever he passed, only ruins remained, piles of lizard-men corpses, not a single survivor left. His heart was filled with profound sorrow, not merely the agony of his nation's fall, but the loneliness born of witnessing his entire race teetering on the brink of extinction. He would lose everything he once possessed. How could that once glorious race be utterly wiped out by the weak humans in a single day? It all felt like a dream. If given a choice, they would never have rushed to attack human civilization so soon after the apocalypse began. But now, it was too late for regrets. Fortunately, Brad had never married and had no children. His mind made up, he resolved to flee the Wulwan Empire immediately. Should Marshal Jinglu emerge victorious, he would return upon hearing the news. After all, the Wulwan Empire now lay in tatters, with over 90% of its silver armored generals and above slain in battle. Even if he deserted now, he could offer a plausible explanation later. The Empire needed his strength and would surely spare his life. Brad's calculations were crystal clear. Yet suddenly, several piercing air-splitting sounds, faster than anything he'd ever heard, echoed in his ears. Brad braced for enemy pursuit. He had indeed set numerous obstacles along the route, such as high-energy bombs. But he never imagined those icy, air-splitting sounds would come from the sky. Brad glanced upward. In that instant, his pupils dilated violently. 4 intercontinental ballistic missiles, each roughly the size of an adult's arm, plummeted toward him at speeds exceeding Mach 10. The missiles, modified by Liu Karen, possessed power and velocity far surpassing the bulky weapons found in standard national arsenals. Brad's speed was utterly insufficient to evade their lock-on range. As they closed in behind him, Brad clasped his hands together. In a flash, he conjured a massive, white, plump figure to shield himself. The white figure resembled a giant ragdoll, instantly swelling to over 100 meters tall and continuing to expand. Whoosh! The 4 ICBMs showed him no mercy, diving straight down. The next moment, it was as if 4 colossal suns rose above the shattered cityscape. If the ruined city resembled a giant plate, then these 4 golden suns were like 4 perfectly arranged 4 joy meatballs. They didn't need to strike Brad's core precisely, it was enough to detonate near him simultaneously. The sheer explosive force unleashed was sufficient to flatten everything within a radius of over 10 kilometers. But Brad, a trait system, lacked the formidable defensive capabilities or the mobility to outmaneuver the attack. His shield shattered instantly under the impact, and the shockwaves from the 4 intercontinental ballistic missiles engulfed him in an instant. Amidst the explosion, it was impossible to tell if he was dead. But Uncle Yu, using his powerful propulsion system, shot skyward and called out to Feng Buping, "Let's go finish him off." Had Feng Buping possessed no other special abilities, this strike alone would have dealt him a devastating blow. Only then did the pair cautiously ascend into the sky, pursuing Brad. The vast city lay nearly flattened, devoid of any living presence, reduced to vast expanses of rubble. At its center, four charred bullet craters stood starkly conspicuous. As they closed in, Uncle Yu activated his life sign scan and finally spotted Brad amidst the rubble. Evidently, with his abilities neutralized, he couldn't withstand even this super bomb assault. Now covered in wounds, green blood seeping from his body, he was injecting himself with medication to alleviate the damage. Uncle Yu and Feng Buping soared overhead, looking down upon this once mighty silver-armored general of the Wulwan Empire. "It's time to end this." Feng Buping, unable to contain his impatience, thrust his spear directly downward. Whoosh, powerful crimson lotus flames converged into a single point at the spearhead. The scorching heat instantly warped the air, finally erupting from that focal point and surging forth violently. Scarlet Lotus Godslaying Inferno. The fire dragon roared, diving straight down toward Brad's position. Brad lifted his head, his eyes fierce as he stared skyward. With a single hand raised high, mosaic fragments, like a two-dimensional invasion of reality, coalesced in his grasp into a colossal shield. Boom! The fiery dragon, born of crimson lotus flames, slammed into the shield. Surging torrents of fire were channeled along its surface, igniting the surroundings as crimson lotus blossoms spread across the ground. "You worthless trash! What gives you the right to act so arrogant before me?" Brad sneered coldly. From start to finish, he hadn't even spared Feng Buping a single glance. His true apprehension was reserved for that armored cyborg. Brad, with his 26,000-point ability index, could have killed a mutant of Feng Buping's level in under 10 seconds on any other day. So today, even in peril, he couldn't be bothered by the other's arrogance. "You!" Feng Buping gritted his silver teeth in fury, but he couldn't deny it. The power gap was immense. He truly had no right to challenge Brad. Uncle Yu calmly raised his arm, the palm cannon aimed squarely at Brad. No words were wasted. Because Zhang Yi had said, villains die by talking too much. If you want to gloat over the fountain, you'd best do it dancing on their corpses. Thus, a single, unadorned energy cannon shot descended like a pillar from the heavens.